Recidivism really is repeat offenders. These are individuals who continue to cycle in and out of the criminal justice system. So we're talking people that have multiple arrests, multiple contacts with law enforcement or the criminal justice system. Probably 12 years ago, there was a small amount of funding here for jail diversion services, and that was money that Western Highlands Network provided. They provided one position to work within the system to help divert people from incarceration into services. Probably in 2005, 2006, somewhere in there, Buncombe County really decided that they wanted to pursue diversion really on a bigger scale, and at that point they realized that that funding still was there but wasn't being used. And so they took that funding initially and then supplemented it with other funding, and we were able to do some diversion for both mental health and also do some substance abuse planning as well. So it started then, and every year it's kind of evolved in something that's a little bigger, a little better, and involves really the whole system at this point, from the point of the law enforcement officer interacting on the street with someone all the way up through the whole court process, and then to the release, and then the work that we do making sure that people get linked to services in the community. So it's kind of touches really every part of the system at this point, both the criminal justice system and the behavioral health system in our community.
Some of the things that we do in the detention center to control our jail population is use of jail diversionary programs. And one of those things would be drug court, where you take low-level offenders that have no history of violence and you put them in a treatment program that holds them very accountable to a specific behavior patterns. In other words, they have to meet certain criteria to stay in the program.
Buncombe County Adult Drug Treatment Court literally saves lives, families, communities, and taxpayer dollars. We screen certain nonviolent offenders who have been diagnosed with a chemical addiction, and we give them a second chance by participating in drug court as their probation. Now, if they cannot meet our demands, their prison sentence is generally activated. Our participants must remain in the program for a minimum of 1 year under the oversight of a probation officer, a drug treatment court coordinator, and the court. Now, the program requires participants to abide by a curfew, submit to regular drug screens, remain employed or in school, perform community service, make case payments to the court, and participate in individual and group treatment, as well as self-help meetings.
Well, before I got drug court, everything was chaos, and I should have been not here, but I wanted to get clean from drugs, but I didn't know how, and I fought it for so long, and I finally, when I got locked up that last time, I just changed my mind and wanted to get clean. And when I did get clean, Norma come into my life and helped me see a better path, and without drug court, I don't think I'd be alive today.
Drug treatment court is a long-term program for felony offenders who have nonviolent offenses. They are convicted of those offenses, but rather than going to prison, they're placed in a drug court program. Everyone in drug court is addicted, either to alcohol or another drug, and most of their crimes are committed while they were intoxicated or high on drugs, or their crimes are committed to get their own supply of drugs to support their habit. The program has close supervision, a lot of accountability, close monitoring. There's an advisory board that oversees drug court, and that advisory board is made up of local officials in the county, and then there's a drug court team, a very supportive team of professionals who operate drug court.
We had to submit to drug screens 3 times a week in the beginning, but it eases up on you, you know, and once you get that freedom back, that it shows you that you can live better. And, you know, I always knew I was a good person. I just needed somebody to show me again how to be that person.
The program is 15 to 18 months long. We have about 30 participants average in the program most of the time. Those participants are required to give multiple drug screens every week, to go to intensive treatment, to stay drug-free, to have bi-weekly progress review sessions before a superior court judge. If they are doing well in the program, they're rewarded in court. If they are violating the conditions of drug court, then they have swift sanctions. The judge will sanction them either to jail time or some other sanction that would be appropriate.
Now, I am not a substance abuse counselor. The judge simply holds participants accountable for their actions. Now, they regularly report to me in a formal court setting where I monitor their progress and provide incentives and, if need be, impose sanctions. Now, I don't just refer them to counseling and wash my hands of these men and women. I lead them through the recovery process, and this has been proven to work. Now, it is powerful stuff to see these folks, the majority of whom have suffered some form of abuse in the past, find the strength to take control of their lives, begin to trust others, and accept help.
It amazes me to see the positive changes in participants as they go through the program, how their quality of life improves. We see drug-free babies being born. We see participants graduating from college. We have people in drug court who have, most of whom haven't been clean in 10, sometimes 15 years. And for the first time in their lives, they're clean. They're mending family relationships. They're becoming law-abiding citizens. This is a very cost-effective program. It costs, to be in drug court, it costs a fraction of what it costs taxpayers for someone to be in prison, to be an inmate and be housed in prison. I've been in the field for over 30 years, and it's by far the most effective and most rewarding program that I've ever been a part of.
Most drug court graduates actually stay out of prison, have healthy babies, get jobs, pay taxes, and become involved in a positive way in the lives of their children and families.
I have a stable home. I have a stable job. I have a stable wife, a stable dog. All of my kids has come back into my life. One thing I know in my heart that is for sure and true is I don't want drugs anymore. So drug court helped me get that.
Crisis intervention training or critical incident training involves dealing with the consumers of mental health services. Somebody may be having a behavioral crisis, a meltdown period, and basically our officers are trained to come in and intervene and try to eliminate the criminal justice piece of the equation to get those folks assimilated back into daily living. So basically the officers are trained in coming in and talking with these people and being able to de-escalate what's going on, talk with them about options to try to get them into a stabilization phase of treatment and get them back into daily living without having to bring them to jail for a very minor charge or something that may have occurred during that behavioral crisis.
Buncombe County, and then a collaboration with the Sheriff's Office, with all of the stakeholders getting together and getting, law enforcement trained in CIT and the crisis intervention training. That has been paramount. By the time an officer interacts on the street with an individual that might have appears to have a mental health issue, they can bring officers in that are specially trained to recognize and deal with mental illness. So I think really diversion starts there, because those officers now know, maybe this is a person I need to take to the crisis stabilization unit, or maybe this is a person I need to take to the emergency department, as opposed to just arresting the person and putting them in the jail. So I think it really starts there.
What we have found is when people come into the criminal justice system, when they're having one of these behavioral crises, usually it's on a very minor charge. They stay an extended period of time in the jail because they're not real good at navigating that system, and the jail is really not equipped to deal with folks who have mental illness issues. So what we try to do is we try to control that jail population, keep them out of the detention center, get them into treatment, which is the most beneficial and the most cost-effective way to deal with this individual when they're having a behavioral crisis.
They know the signs to look for and the behaviors to look for that might be related to mental illness rather than just behaviors. And so then when they see those signs that someone might have a mental health issue, they change their tactics. They are going to interact with that person in a different way than they would for someone who was clearly just acting in a criminal manner. They see things that make them think, you know, something's going on here. They may change the way they interview a person or how they interact, knowing that if someone's psychotic or something else is going on, you know, the way they interact may escalate the situation rather than, you know, kind of calming the person down.
Another one of the things that we do in detention is we also target that population that has substance abuse issues, and once they're ready to be released, we engage in some case management with them. That's probably when they're the most receptive to go into AA or another counseling-based program, and we kind of help walk them through that process so when they leave out, they know where they can immediately go to engage in that counseling and programming that will help them not come back into our detention center, and it's cut our recidivism rate quite a bit.
SOAR Court is Success Overcoming Addiction Through Recovery, and it's a Buncombe County family treatment court. We've been operational for approximately 6 years now. And what we do is we work with individuals who have had their children removed as a result of a primary concern of substance abuse addiction. And we have those individuals go through an intensive court program. It lasts about 1 year minimum. And what they do is they go through a 3 intensive phase program. After the 12-month period, an individual is required to have a termination of parental rights hearing, where their rights are being terminated as a result of a substance abuse issue that may have resulted in child abuse, neglect, or dependency. And what our courtroom does is we try an intensive program wherein we meet with these individuals twice per month for that 1 year. And what that does is that allows immediate accountability and an effort to modify behaviors that have posed an obstacle in having their children removed and an obstacle continuing in order for them to have reunification with their children.
Just went to the county jail, and I found out that I was going to be a father for my first child, which is Riley. That was tough, you know. Like every other weekend I'd get to see her, and just watching her grow up like that was pretty tough, you know, and I kind of made like a, you know, I wanted to be there for her when I got out, and I kind of made that a pact to myself that I would. And when I came out of prison, I already had a lawyer. And so the first thing I did was I called her, and she put me on just this path. And like the first stop on the path was SOAR Court. And from there, it was just, I mean, the work wasn't no easier, but as far as like which way to go and what to do in this situation, because I've never been involved in any of this kind of stuff, you know, as long as you were willing to do the work, they led you down that road.
People who go through our court program get into treatment a lot quicker. There's a study that says the quicker you get into treatment, the longer you are more likely to stay in treatment. There's statistics that show the longer that you are in treatment, the greater chance of your success of sobriety. And so with that intensive dynamic, we hope to be able to address that person's addiction sooner, in a more significant time frame that would allow that child and that parent to be reunited, and to provide a safe, permanent plan for the child.
As far as coming out of prison, SOAR Court put me on a road of like which way to go, almost like you're a blind dog, you don't know where to go, so that they set me on these paths of drug treatment. I was taking classes to learn how to be a father. Did Children in the Middle. I did 2 parenting classes. I did the Matrix program at ARP Phoenix, and we worked with the community. So there was a whole, we stayed really busy. AA, NA, very active in both. And you know, you have to go to court every other week.
This has been a very collaborative effort with community agencies across the board, including our Buncombe County commissioners, and working together to develop this program. We have been operational since 2006. We've had, I think, approximately 25 graduates. We've had 13 drug-free babies born in this community as a result of our participants who have successfully completed SOAR Court.
I got a job, and it seems like they kept asking me for one more thing, employment, then they want housing, and it just seems like over all the time, everything just kind of fell into place, and I have it all now. Now that it's all over with, you know, I look back, I couldn't have done it without SOAR Court.
PreTrial exists to try to control the jail population, and we target those people who are at a low risk to let out of custody, those that aren't a danger to society, who we think are not at a high risk to fail to appear in court.
Jail space is an expensive commodity for any county, and as long as you continue to build jail space, the court system and law enforcement are going to fill it, because that's what they're there to do. And so you need to figure out how to use your jail beds more effectively, making sure that you have the appropriate people in custody and those people who can be in the community while they're waiting to go to court. Then you want them in the community working and supporting their families, rather than having to house them in a jail and pay to feed them and take care of them and for their medical expenses while they're there.
Every morning we come in, there are a list of people who have been detained overnight who, for whatever reason, can't afford to post a bond. All those individuals are interviewed. We use a screening tool, a risk assessment, to get a clear picture for the court what this person looks like, what the risk is to the community that this person be released, and hopefully catch any potential problems that might keep them from coming to court. After the initial interview, all that information is compiled. We do national record checks, local record checks, call references, call their family.
We get all the information about them that we can before that's sent in for their first appearance in court, so that the judge will have all of that information at their first appearance. And that also is to speed up the process and hopefully not hold anyone in jail any longer than is necessary.
Once the judges make those release decisions, they can assign them to our program for supervision. And for those defendants we're supervising, then we try to figure out what are the underlying issues that are driving their involvement with the criminal justice system. Is it substance abuse or mental health? Or is it just a level of criminality? And we try to address those issues, and hopefully can get the defendant linked up with services in the community that can take care of some of their needs, that can help them become a better citizen.
We make contact with the individual, they call in, we develop a relationship, we start going through the things that have been ordered.
I'll oversee that they're abiding by all the conditions. That could be curfew, could be substance abuse assessment or mental health assessment and treatment, or a no contact with the prosecuting witness order.
Occasionally you have the individual that has a very hard time being compliant, and in that case our job is to, kind of ensure public safety, and at that point go back to court and say this person is not a good risk, this person is not in compliance, and we bring them back to jail. But that never means that we won't supervise them again. We really try very hard to give everybody the opportunity to be out in the community and become productive citizens.
Through leveraging some programs that the county, or some contracts that the county had with different mental health agencies, and leveraging some of our mental health funds, we were able to develop linkages between several different programs in the county so that we could get these people linked to the treatment that they need. And we did that really without investing additional money, but just looking at the money we were already spending and trying to look at programs that had supportive data to show that they were working, and to develop cooperative efforts among those programs.
We'll have dual supervisions with SOAR Court or with drug court, or we'll have somebody into the JUST program, which opens up all kinds of services for a client. And when I'm stuck with something, I can always call the case manager in the other program and say, I need some ideas. X, Y, and Z has happened, and I'm stuck, and this person really needs help. Being able to access all those services and these programs working together really has a great outcome for the participant.
We work very closely with the Buncombe County Pre-Trial services, and so that kind of gives us the the stick, that if someone isn't compliant, it's that, it gives that little extra push to really encourage compliance. And they're not all just a stick, though, because I mean, really, the staff at the pretrial services really works in the helps us in celebrating when people are successful and are able to, kind of get their life back on track. So it's a pretty exciting process, really, I think, across the board.
Had an elderly woman who was in a really bad situation, and turns out she needed support because she couldn't make her monthly bills, didn't have any food in the house, and had 6 dogs that needed to be taken care of. So we linked her with social services. We linked her with an agency in her community that could help her with her monthly grocery bill. We linked her with a no-kill shelter and removed the animals from the home in a humane way that made her feel comfortable, took care of the animals, got food in her cupboards, and made sure she was taken care of throughout the court process, and that helped her come back to court, made her feel comfortable.
The JUST program is a resource that is available to our court system, and the effort in the JUST program is similar in that what we try to do is develop a linkage plan for individuals who have a known mental illness or defect that have had criminal behavior in our detention facility. And as a result of that criminal intervention, those individuals are incarcerated and they're not receiving their mental health services.
We are accepting a lot of referrals from PreTrial for people who are ultimately in jail because of a crime committed secondary to an untreated mental health problem. So to the best of our ability, we're identifying people who, if they were being treated successfully in the community, would not be in a situation where they were arrested, and transitioning them back out into the services they need to prevent them from being rearrested.
I got tired of going back and forth to the jail, living the lifestyle that I was living. When I became homeless in 2004, I was doing some things that I should not have been doing. I was, out there prostituting, smoking, crack, and just got really bad out there on it. And I started going back and forth to jail, and I had smoked and thought I could go out there and make some money and everything is going to be fine and go get high all night, and it didn't happen that way. I got into a car with an undercover and went to jail. Jillian had came and talked to me in jail about pretrial and jail diversion and doing the JUST program.
The hope is that we can provide services to non-violent criminal individuals with mental illnesses, to link them up with treatment outside of the detention facility, provide them intensive case management to monitor their compliance and their progress so that we can be sure that the community remains safe, giving these individuals an opportunity to also work on their case plan, to work on their mental health so that we can readdress their behavior with the hope that that criminal behavior, that element to non-compliance in their treatment will then provide a safer community again, as well as providing a benefit to whomever that individual is and to help alleviate the cause of that criminal behavior.
They will do the screening in the jail to see if someone is appropriate for the program. You have to meet certain criteria. You have to have a SPMI, which is seriously persistent mental illness. May or may not have a substance abuse issue also, but we're working with them, and we're the supervising agency for the JUST program in order to hopefully lower that recidivism.
With the JUST meetings, I had actually started to like coming to those, because it's different people checking in, and stuff like that, and being able to express yourself without being judged, of what your past was. It was good meetings.
We are reducing the number of days that people are in custody, people with a severe and persistent mental illness and or a substance abuse problem, but we're also reducing the amount of times that they are rearrested for the same kinds of crimes. And those include things like trespassing, panhandling, what generally are considered nuisance crimes. And so we're saving the county dollars there by reducing the need for additional jail space.
I got clean off of everything. I did room in the inn. I did my mental health with RHA. I was seeing my workers twice a week. I was doing groups twice a week at RHA. I had got myself into the Women at Risk program, completed the substance abuse treatment. If the program is there to try to help somebody, then they need to keep it open and keep it ongoing to be able to help these people succeed.
Jail diversion is a win-win. The goal is twofold. At some level, the goal is to reduce the population at the jail and manage people that can be managed in the community safely and better in the community rather than managing them in jail. But the bigger, kind of more human benefit of it is that individuals who maybe jail's the worst place for them to be, the worst place for their mental illness, you know, where their symptoms are most exacerbated, they get to kind of get a second chance.
When we took office in 2006, we knew that we were only a couple of years away from having to build a new detention facility. And it is the most expensive construction we do in Buncombe County government. So what we did is we took a really hard look at how we could better manage that population. We want the people in jail who are breaking into houses, who are committing serious criminal offenses, but we also want to move those folks out of that jail population who their main issues revolve around substance abuse and mental illness, and get them into some sort of a treatment program to cut down on that recidivism of those very minor crimes that they're usually in there for. So what we've seen, because we've engaged in that, is we've controlled our jail population to the point to where we're not going to have to build a new detention center anytime in the near future.
Really, I think that the thing we're doing the best right now is maximizing all the resources that are there. There's a lot of mental health services in Asheville. There's a lot of substance abuse services. There's a lot of support in the legal system. We have job training programs in our community and lots of reentry opportunities for folks, but sometimes it can get kind of scattered. And I think one of the things that PreTrial and the jail diversion program do so well is really knowing, we learn what's available, and then we pull all those resources together so that we can get the most out of them. And ultimately that's saving everybody a lot of money because we're getting more out of it.
You're looking at someone across the table and saying, I really don't know where to send you. I don't know how to help you. And that was very difficult, and what kind of prompted this drive to start putting all this in place. Get in touch with other programs, start having meetings. What can these other programs offer? How can we work together? How can we get past some of these hurdles that we encountered early on so that we can all be on the same page and help these individuals?
And the idea that these individuals who now participate and successfully complete these programs become productive members of the society. It's an increase in employment. It allows individuals to have a stable home environment, to provide that stability to their children, to reduce the number of foster care placements. At one point, there was 258 individuals who were placed in foster care in 1 year, and 116 of those were as a result of substance abuse and addiction. And to remove that need, because we're able to provide stability in a home, again, that cost is immeasurable.